Hello, YouTube. Welcome, everybody. This is yet another episode of the Solo Group Hardcore Ironman series here. So, let's get right into it. Just some updates on what has been happening lately. So, I did finally manage to get 95 Ringcraft, which was one of the largest goals. That is, I believe, top left little quadrant there. This is the Runecrafter with Dragon Slayer 2 done here. So got that to 95 and actually a fair bit of XP from the Wraths themselves. So I faced a few obstacles when I originally set after that goal, and one was, well, when I got 95 Runecraft, I needed to get the Wrath Talisman to actually enter the Wrath Altar. And with that being said, the only ways to get it is like rune and adamant dragons, which are very dangerous, and I did not want to, start crushing them out on the KC to try and get one, because you can die to any disconnect there easily. Or Vorkath, which also is extremely difficult of a boss to get a large amount of KC on, and there's no telling when it would drop. So I did not end up doing either of those two methods. What I ended up doing was I looked on the wiki and I saw that, well, hey, there's this thing called the Catalytic Talisman, I believe, from Guardians of the Rift, and that allowed me to make a Catalytic Tiara from. So I looked into that, and you have to make actually a different kind of tiara. It's not just a normal silver tiara like all other talismans. You have to make a golden tiara. So I just simply grabbed the tiara mold, a gold bar, went to the furnace, and it does let you craft a golden tiara from a gold bar with the tiara mold, and then was able to put that catalytic talisman that I finally got one. I finally got one on a different account actually. That was the other problem, is when I had stopped at 78-ish runecraft, I had the Abyssal Needle, which allows you to upgrade all of your pouches to the Colossal Pouch. I had gotten the full outfit, so you need to obtain enough pearls to be able to purchase the full outfit. And I had gotten all that at around 78 runecraft, and I figured, okay, this is high enough to do Zaya runecrafting through Bloods. So I left Guardians of the Rift and went for the more chill AFK method and did Bloods and Souls all the way through the Zaya runecrafting methods, all the way up to 95 for Wraths. And the whole way along the way, I kind of noticed, okay, like I actually don't have a Wrath Talisman. There's no way I can enter the altar, and that's going to be a problem when I hit 95. So I did tangent out, and let's see, yep, looks like the count in the bottom right, this is the one with 77 RC. So I did go and do a bunch of Guardians of the Rift on a secondary account somewhere along the grind to 95 Runecraft on the main Dragon Slayer 2 account, and I ended up getting easily that talisman. It was I got it pretty quickly into that grind, so it wasn't too much of a trouble. I would have had to just keep sticking it out, you know, for as long as I needed until I get it, because without that, there was actually no way to get Catalytic Tiara or a Wrath Talisman to craft Wrath. So yeah, that was one of the obstacles. The other was sort of the method to do Wraths. I um I had to sort of theory craft what to do. It ended up being that it was better to not wear the cape, just have it in my inventory, um, because then I wouldn't have to go to as many interfaces and stuff like that. Just had the pouch in my inventory and some house tabs. So I had to be on the lunar spellbook to be able to repair my pouches through the Dark Mage NPC contact spell. because when you're rune crafting constantly, that's one of the biggest. Oh, little bit of lag. Oh, getting a lot of lag here. Oh, that's not good. That's not good. Run to safety. All right. Yep, we're lagging. Just gonna stop slaying for a little bit on these Basilisk Knights until we stop lagging. But yeah, one of the issues there is that your rune crafting pouch will degrade fairly rapidly, especially when you're constantly running to the altar, filling it, emptying it, etc. So you do need to be on lunars to be able to quickly repair pouches. Otherwise, your pouches become very inefficient and can only hold a small amount of essence. So that was one of the things. I needed a method of banking, so that was done through lunar teleport, just the lunar isle teleport. Puts you close enough to the lunar bank, and you don't need the special icon? I think it's the seal of passage to bank there. If you have done Dream Mentor, you can bank with the one side of the bank booths. He lets you bank for free without needing the seal on you. So I didn't have to wear that or whatever. I guess I could have worn it as my amulet slot or something. Anyway, that's how I ended up banking, and I switched all my left click options on the pouch to when I was in the bank to just fill. So it was as quick as fill, click essence, fill, click essence, fill, click essence, and then bam, the pouch was full, and my inventory was back to full of essence. And then close the bank, click the cape because I just had that set to left click as the teleport option instead of wearing it, because the normal default is to wear any type of equipment on the left click. That puts me right at the Myths Guild. Then you have to go into the dungeon where all the dragons are. There's like blue dragons, green dragons, black dragons, red dragons, all sorts of stuff. There's a couple of rune rocks down there. I expanded the GPU plugin on RuneLight to just enough to where I could see the cave entrance. There's actually like a cave down there where the Wrath altar exists. So you have to enter that cave from entering the Mistguild dungeon. So it's kind of like a two-parter, and then from there it puts you out to the Wrath, sort of like mysterious ruins or whatever they call it, where then you have to use the talisman on that to enter the actual Wrath altar area. But if you're wearing a Wrath tiara or a catalytic tiara, or really any tiara for that respective altar, then the left click becomes just to enter the ruins. So from there I would enter the ruins, run up to the actual altar, click it to craft. My left click from my inventory on the colossal pouch without being in a bank was set to just empty, so it was a quick altar, empty, altar, empty, altar, and then it was all done. Tally back to Lunar Isle, repeat with the bank, fill my pouch, and return. And then every time I would run out of energy or prayer, so you have to pray. You kind of have to pray melee, especially if you're hardcore, because if you don't, you do get smacked by the red, blue, and black dragons, and the black dragons actually hit me for like a 20 and 21 if I ever wasn't praying on them. So that was kind of a big deal. I wanted to make sure, because that'll KO you through Ring of Life and all that jazz. I was wearing a Ring of Life. I was wearing the full rune crafting outfit, and as much graceful as I could. I believe that was only the gloves and the cape of graceful. But other than that, yeah, you are just limited on run energy and prayer. But with just protect melee on, and I think I used just a holy symbol because it's +8 prayer as an amulet, as opposed to the Fury. I know the Fury is good on defensive bonuses, but it only has 5 prayer, and I wasn't taking any damage besides melee, so protect from melee covered me, and I just needed longer pray bonus to pray melee for longer, so that was a little bit better than the Fury. And a Stole would have been even better, but I don't have one from Clues. So I just went with that. Really, the prayer wasn't the main issue. It was also the fact that my stamina would run out. So my stam would actually hit or run out probably faster than my prayer. And then what I would have to do is I would use the house tabs in my inventory and go to. So I had to also log into the same world as my account with 80, for construction with the max rejuvenation pool. So I was, on the same world with multiple accounts to be able to do that, and I would teleport inside my group member's house with the house tabs because you can't cast house teleport because you're not on the normal spell book. And I would go in and restore with the rejuvenation pool back to full prayer, full run, and any HP that I lost from maybe some dragon breath, so I was always topped off. Obviously, yeah, I was wearing the anti-dragon shield as they constantly breathe fire on you as you run through, so that was obviously necessary. And other than that, yeah, that was the method. I think I was wearing a dust battle staff, so airs for the NPC contact spell were covered. Earths for the lunar teleport spell were covered in just that alone, and then I had to put in my room pouch things like astrals, I think laws, and cosmics for the NPC contact spell and teleports to Lunar Isle. And then the Wrath rune stack, I just let that accumulate in my inventory because that would go above 16,000 and the rune pouch actually caps at 16k, so it was better to just leave those outside in the inventory. Even though you can runecraft and runes will go directly into an open rune pouch if there's one space or if there's two um, that type of rune already in the pouch and it will just add to it. So that's a nice thing about the rune pouch. Uh, but yeah, that was kind of the method for Wraths. I know that's a lot to think of, but basically, yeah, there was a lot that I had to sort of hash out before I could actually get into the nitty gritty of sending back to back to back trips of just endlessly crafting Wraths. And I was pretty satisfied with the rate at which you can craft Wraths. I was getting around 99 or something, I believe, per run with all the stuff in my inventory. It kind of fills your inventory up, so I was missing maybe 3 or 4 essence per trip, but that wasn't a big deal. The fact that I had everything that I needed and I was able to craft about 99 Wrath runes every single trip with the outfit giving me that bonus 60%. So I ended up making tens of thousands in simply just a couple days. I actually would make like 20 or 30,000 in a day. Probably just a couple days went by, and this is work days, weekdays on of work where I'd only have a few hours to play, and yeah, I was easily able to make. I made like 70 or 80,000 of them, and I stopped because I'm just like, well, I looked at the Arceuus spellbook and the spells that involve wrath runes that I needed it for. So this is the one that converts ashes or bones to prayer XP. Those spells actually only cost one rune of each type, so they cost one wrath rune each only. So 10,000 wrath runes alone is 10,000 casts of that. That is an insane amount of casts for those spells, and they cost like one blood rune, which I have over 500,000 blood runes doing Zaya rune crafting with bloods, so that's no problem. And then I did some souls to where I got about 40,000 soul runes on the way from 94 to 95. I did souls all the way from 94 runecraft to 95 because I realized although bloods are more chill and better for playing multiple accounts on, I ended up needing the souls, so glad I made that decision to sort of work that in and have enough soul runes to boot. But that's only for one of the spells, and that I have like easily 10,000 plus for each account. So I'm good on the wraths and the souls and the bloods, and those are the runes that you need to cast the ash and bone spells from the Arceuus spellbook to be able to maximize the prayer you get from Slayer tasks. So I ended up trying to just go back into Slayer and see how this works. Now, again, it wasn't just as simple as okay, get back to slaying and you're good to go. There's a couple of complications that come with the method of, being on the Arceuus spellbook, right? One is that you don't have access to common teleports like house teleport to go to the rejuvenation pool or your altar in your house and restore prayer, HP, everything, and then go back into the catacombs portal for Great Kurend, and then go back to your slay task. That wasn't going to work. Doing that 5 or 6 times throughout the course of a Slayer task was not going to be able to do that anymore because I'm on the Arceuus spellbook. So I have to use house teleports and house tabs, which is fine, but I made the decision that soft clay and making house tabs, like I don't want to be consuming a house tab every 5 minutes just to restore prayer. I might have to do that 10 times on a task. That's just 10 house tabs. Ooh, Superior Basilisk Knight. So it's the Basilisk Sentinel. Let's just chip away at this guy for about easily 5 minutes and move back and forth. Yeah, so I was using house teleports to get to my house when needed, but also the issue is you don't have high alchemy, so you don't have the ability to just pick up like a rune medium helmet, right? Or Addy square shield, whatever. Like, if you're killing worms, if you're killing abyssal demons, if you're killing anything that drops alks, where you're trying to use these ash and bone spells on the Arceuus spellbook, you don't have that luxury of just converting everything to a stack of coins, which one keeps your inventory nice and empty, and two, it allows you to, like I said, not have a full inventory and need to go bank all these alkables and deal with them later. But that's just one of the many things you have to deal with being on the Arceuus spellbook to use these spells for prayers. You have to be able to, you know, deal with all these things, like, right? Like, otherwise you just have to leave 30k alks on the ground every time you get a drop or something. So, yeah, that was a battle to work out. And real quick, I'm just gonna, talk about it. So this Basilisk Sentinel is probably one of the more dangerous superior monsters in the game. So what I'm doing is I'm just like running back and forth and then letting auto retaliate pick up the attacking again for me. If you move after every single bolt attack, then you'll dodge his special, which he lobs out a little red sort of magical attack, and it targets your ground location. So as long as you move, there it is. See, so it targeted my previous position, and as long as I move at least one space from where I was, then you'll have no issue. So let's see what the loot is. Can we get something good? No, we cannot. That's alright though. It's good Slayer XP. Anyway, yeah, back to the Arceuus spellbook and the Slayer method. So those are some of the complications that I've already explained. The fact that you don't have high alch, you don't have house teleport, you can't recharge your prayers easily. Getting back to the catacombs, you can't use your house for the Kurend portal or Kurend Tele because it's on the normal spellbook as well. So I have to use my Xerix talisman, which is fine because I have thousands of Lizardmen fangs from doing the shaman grind. Doing a ton of Lizardmen shamans gets you plenty of Lizardman fangs to charge that Xerix talisman to be able to teleport through all those options, one of them being right to the Great Kurend statue leading into the catacombs. So that's, how I get there, and then I can use house tabs to get to my house if I ever need to go recharge prayer or whatever. But I ended up, so one of the main tasks you do this spellbook method of being on the Arceuus Spellbook during a Slayer task is Abyssal Demons, and they're in the catacombs. So that's how I get there. I just use the Xerix Talisman, and I end up just I ended up deciding that it's probably just better to just use prayer pots on the task. I take like 5 or 6, and then because your inventory really starts to fill up here. So one of the annoying things is, well, you can use your rune pouch to put wraths, souls, and bloods in. You need all 3 of those to be able to cast uh, the reanimate head spell for the the ensouled abyssal demon heads, and you also need it for the ash conversion spell to convert the abyssal ashes that you loot from abyssal demons into the prayer XP. That's the whole point. So you have to put about 3 or 4 types of runes in your pouch, and you need natures because that's also part of the reanimate spell. So yeah, I have about 4 types of runes in my inventory, and my pouch is always carrying laws, dusts, and fires for when I'm on a normal Slayer task on the normal spellbook. So I don't know. I just thought that it was gonna be super annoying to have to empty my pouch every single time just for that. Like I already do that for ancients to get on ancients and do burst tasks for Slayer. So I was just like, you know what? I might just pull out the stacks of runes and see if I can do that. Now the only annoying part is that to pick up all the ashes and stuff, you need quite a bit of space because it's 1 space each, and your inventory is full of I have potions to boost. Like I was using super combats, which I ended up making a handful, about 100 of those. That saves me some space instead of having to take a super attack and a super strength combo, because that would be about 4 spaces to have 2 sets of those instead of just 2 spaces for the 2 super combats. So I'm using that, and I'm using about 6 or 7 prayer pots, and then with all the runes, the herb sack, you got a spec weapon, whatever, like house tabs, the Xerix talisman, like your inventory starts to fill up. Even the Drayman staff is something that is lingering in my inventory for this method because you need to change to the Arceuus Spellbook, and without the 99 magic cape, you have to go via Drayman staff to the Zaya area in which you can change that spellbook to Arceuus. So you have to, and then once you do that, it's okay. Well, you could go to a bank and bank the Drayman staff, but like I don't know, it's only 1 slot, but these things start to add up. So I was just like, well, I'll just tally directly with the Xerix talisman to my Slayer task. There's so many complications and things like that are just chilling in your inventory that make it to where your inventory, you're kind of limited on space. And then okay, you get a rune chain and you get a rune medium helmet, you get an ancient shard, you get a superior that spawns and you kill that, and you get a totem piece. You start to get ensouled heads, like things start to flood your inventory very quickly, and I was realizing, this is a big deal. Maybe I'll just start making the decision to empty my rune pouch at my bank when I get this task, and then just put 3 types of runes in there. That will cut down on 2 inventory spaces for this type of Slayer method. But we'll see. I was able to make it work even though I was limited on space, because once you pick up 3 or 4 ashes, then you can just cast the spell, and then it deletes 3 of them from your inventory, giving you all that prayer XP. Something that I didn't know about that spell is that it restores prayer points equal to the number of ashes you consumed, as well as bones consumed, which is, I guess, just good quality of life. I'm constantly praying melee and sometimes using piety for like the superior or something, so you end up using a lot of prayer points and prayer pots. So just the fact that, well, over the course of the task, converting 100 200 plus abyssal ashes to XP is going to restore me close to two. It's 1 for 1, so about the same 200-ish prayer points back throughout the task. So that alleviates a little bit of the prayer pot necessity for each task. So that was one nice thing that I found out. And then yeah, you're just getting massive prayer XP. So leveling up prayer, I got up to 82. I did a ton of ensouled heads. Just having the highest prayer level possible gives you more points per dose that you drink out of any prayer restoring potion, right? So that's going to be like super restores or prayer pots. Just having a higher base level, not only you get there with this high stack of 82 prayer points, but then every dose might give me 2 or 3 more prayer points per sip, because I'm 82 instead of something like 70. So definitely just having higher prayer is a huge boost to just the quality of life, how effective your potion sips go. Because again, it's kind of a war of attrition in there. I usually bank about 1 time in between the Abbey Demon tasks, because like one time I just got there and I get a couple rune items that I want to pick up, and then I get like an ancient shard, a totem piece. There were just so many different things that were just filling my inventory, and it's like, well, I don't want to drop this stuff to have space to pick up the ashes. So I simply just can choose to just go and bank, once I use up a bunch of prayer pots and need to restock. I just go to the bank about 1 time in the middle of the task somewhere, and it usually works out. Um, Another thing that came to mind was the fact that I had to drop my Dragon Battle Axe sort of tech. I've always used the Dragon Battle Axe spec on Slayer tasks because it boosts your strength equivalent or very close to the equivalent of a super strength, and it's free because you just cost your 100% spec bar. So instead of using super strength potions throughout Slayer, I always just use a Dragon Battle Axe spec and then a super attack pot, and then I'm kind of super strength and super attack potted through the entire task. And doing this like 10 to 15 times throughout a task saves me like 3 or 4 super strength dose, or super strength potions 4 dose. Ends up just making it so I don't have to grind Limpwort roots on farm runs as hard, because you just save so much in those in those potions that you don't need as many limps to restock. And yeah, with just all of these things being said, there were some obstacles in discovering this method, figuring it out. How am I going to fully utilize this? What types of inventory setups do I need? Etc. It was a little bit of a headache, but I ended up figuring out for the most part, and I think it's super, super excellent on that prayer, on the prayer gains. Like, every abyssal demon you kill, right? You're getting like, it's what, 150 Slayer XP for the Slayer monster because they have 150 health. But each ash ends up giving me like close to 200, I think it's like 255 or 260, something like that, prayer XP each. And so when I convert 3, I get like this big 750 plus prayer XP drop, as well as those spells give about 200-ish. It's like 200 something magic XP, which is really nice. So I'm slowly working on that mage XP as well, because I do really want to get 99 to have the cape, and the cape for magic lets you change spell books for free basically at the bank, and that's super nice when I'm constantly going between ancient magics to burst tasks and now the Arceuus Spellbook to convert ashes. This will be for abyssal demons and necreals. I'll be doing necreals in the Slayer Tower once I get 99 mage. because right now Necril tasks are one of the best ways to train my magic to 99 so that I can more easily change spellbooks. So there's a lot going on right now. I'm currently here tr- also doing this Kraken task. I chose right now to set off on a mission to do this combat achievement. Oh my god, pirate boots. So many pirate boots right there. Um, I'm just literally sitting here casting straight blood barrage with the ancient staff for my Kraken task because there's a combat achievement to get 100 KC in one trip without leaving the instance. So that's why there's so much junk on the ground down here. I brought a full inventory of manta rays. I haven't even used one, so unfortunately I'll be wasting them. But this was the experimental account. This was the first account that I'm going for this on. And with the mage bonus I have and just straight up casting blood barrage to heal every single cast, I'm just at 99 HP every single kill. I have not touched my food. I have not dropped HP at all, except when the Kraken maybe hits you for like a 20. The tentacles are always just getting rehealed, the damage they do, and then whenever he does hit you for a little bit, which is very rare, I far surpass the little chip damage that all these tentacles around here can chip you down with, to where yeah, you're just full HP the whole time. I literally haven't used food. I've gotten shark drop at least like 6 or 7 times. There's 28 shark on the ground here, so there's easily 30 shark because he drops 5 just cooked shark for you to eat during tasks, and usually you use them because you're just using a trident here. But because I wanted to knock out this combat achievement and get 100 KC in one go, I you know I'm using blood. I have to use blood barrage to stay healed because that's not enough to make you get 100 kills. You can maybe get, I did get the 50 KC in one trip here. That's also a combat achievement. And that one I easily got just doing the trident, because if you get enough food drops, you can eventually get that. But 100 is a whole another ballpark of a number. It's just that's so many kills, and you do get chipped down over time. So unless you're casting blood spells, you won't be healing enough, and you'll have to go and bank because you'll run out of food. So I knew this would work in the fact that casting just straight blood barrage would heal me enough, but I didn't know I wouldn't use any food. I thought I was gonna have to rely a little bit on like shark drops and luck. So I brought a full inventory of mantas expecting this. But now that I know this, if I do this on another account, I will easily, just bring like a couple food just in case, and then that way I can actually pick up the loot and not just have to drop all my mantas, unfortunately. That's okay though, it's only about 20 some manta rays, and I'm going to be just taking the more expensive loot here. Like all these noted items, stacks of runes like chaos and coins, and then mystic and rune items, just because they're worth a lot of for alking. But yeah, I started this Kraken task here at 2299, so literally 1 KC shy of 2300 on the dot. So being at 2366, I'm currently 67 kills into this. That's right about exactly 2/3. And the biggest issue here was how many death runes I would chew through. I don't really care about the blood rune sink that I'm just constantly casting blood barrage. It takes 4 blood runes and 4 deaths and 1 soul. So the 1 soul is pretty cheap. But 4 bloods, most accounts, especially irons, would care about that. But for me, having over 400 to 500,000 doing rune crafting at Zaya, I'm never going to be able to use that many bloods. So I don't really care about using 5 to 10,000 on this CA. And then, so it really came down to death runes, but you can buy them in the shops. I just hopped worlds around and bought like 10,000 of them at a magic store, and you can buy 250 a world, hop, buy 250, hop, and they are expensive. They're around 200 or more GP each, but That is the best way to get death runes when you're completely low or out. So you need them obviously for all the ancient spells. I need them for barraging Dust Devils and Necryls for my Slayer task, and then stuff like this. Even just doing Kraken normally, the Trident uses death runes. Doing Zulrah uses death runes for the Trident hits. So you need deaths all the time on Ironman accounts. So that's why people call it Shopscape. I know there's a lot of drama going around about this new runecraft method where it's called like the Scar Essence Mine or something, to where Jagex is going to let you spend a ton of cash to have this sort of extremely expedited runecraft method where you can potentially craft hundreds of thousands of runes in an hour and solve all these rune problems that Ironmen have. I think this is solely a. It sounds to me like it's simply an Iron Man quality of life update rather than having to shopscape, which is where you buy the stock of death runes from a world and you hop, and then you buy the stock of death runes and you hop. People do this for soul runes, they do it for blood runes, they do it for deaths, they do it for packs of fire runes and water runes, and they maybe even do it for like Nats or Laws or something, Cosmics, whatever you're doing it for. The Scar Essence Mine is a way that you can just stack your account for mils of GP. Obviously, it's going to be very expensive GP wise, but instead of just hopping and slowly doing this through shopping, it's going to be some type of runecraft method where you get some type of extremely powerful essence, like pure essence crafts runes. This would be some like hyper insane essence, so to speak, that makes you probably get like 20 death runes per essence. So you can run a trip there and get like something like 1,000 death runes in a single trip to the altar. And then you can do trips and trips and trips over the course of an hour. They're saying that you can get something like 200 or 250,000 runes in an hour crafted through the Scar Essence Mine update. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that one plays out. I know there's a lot of like, especially like higher level players, Iron Man. There's stuff on Reddit. People are like, "This is overpowered. This shouldn't be in the game." Whatever. I'm staying out of that drama, but I don't really care if it was added to the game, so to speak. But I do think that number's a little bit high. I think they could easily tweak that number down, make it a little bit slower, because in 1 hour you shouldn't be able to stack 250,000 blood runes. I mean, that's just insane. Like, I've played an Iron Man for all the way to Max Cape on my other Iron Man account, one of my maxed irons, and over the lifetime of that account, I had only acquired like 200 to 300,000 blood runes. To just say, okay, you can now get as many bloods that I acquired through the life of my account, maxing, doing bloods, souls, PVMing for drops. You're gonna tell me that you can get an equivalent rune stack that I did in 1 hour of this thing? Like, at least make it like you do a couple hours, so like tweak the number down a little bit. But that conversation will be for another day, I guess, when this update becomes more underway and they fully tweak some of the numbers. I think they will nerf the number a little bit. It's not going to be 250,000 an hour. It might be like 50,000 an hour, or close to 100,000 an hour. I think that's a lot better of a compromise, and then I actually wouldn't have any problem with this thing entering the game. So I won't have that type of GP. This is for more like normal Ironmen who can do like raids. You get tons of GP from raiding or killing Hydra. A lot of bosses that drop Alks like Vorkath, and some of the DT2 bosses, they drop tons of gold value items like dragon legs, dragon plate skirts. I think the DT2 bosses have this 7 dragon plate skirt drop, and then Muspa drops like 3 at a time. Vorkath drops them very frequently. corrupted gauntlet drops hundreds of thousands of coins each run, as well as just like alcohols and like dragon hallies, rune items, all that jazz. You can get so much GP on an Ironman nowadays to where you can actually afford this type of an expensive method, because it will be extremely expensive on GP for the runes, but it will eliminate the fact that you have to like hot worlds and buy 250 a world, because the stocks do run out, and then you can only do that for like 10 or 15 minutes, and then you kind of hop like every single world, and there's no more worlds with stock on them. So okay, you take your 20,000 or whatever death runes and you move on with your account, and you'll be back later to get more and buy more, because that's not going to last you very long. So yeah, we'll see how that update plays out. That's the Scar Essence mine, and leave a comment if you think this thing should be added. I think it's kind of atrocious. I think just the 250,000 number is way too high, so we'll see if they end up going with a lower value, which I think would be a nice compromise. But yeah, so yeah, just back to the sleigh grind, right? I explained what I've been doing. I explained my method to craft wraths, and I'm currently going for some CAs here with Kraken. But I've been back to the sleigh grind. I fully figured out how I'm gonna do abyssal demon tasks, and yeah, I am enjoying going back to slaying on the account that has 95 RC, because I had not been able to do any rune crafting on him for a very long time. Or I'm sorry, any slayer. I have just been rune crafting for a very long time. I wasn't able to progress my combats. Now he is still fairly high slayer. 88 now, and with 95 strength, so he's quite in line with the remainder of my accounts. They're all around that area of 95 plus strength, 88-ish slayer, except for the highest one. I obviously have a lot of 99s on the guy doing Kraken here. He's the highest slayer account with 96 here. So I focused on slayer with him so I could get to things like the trident and whips for the rest of the group. And that ended up getting me some better equipment earlier on. So I did hone in on one account to get super high slayer faster than the others, but the others, even though I did rune crafting for months, that took me 2 or so months to get to wrath runes, and then you have to craft them for a few days. Finally getting back to slayer, I'm not too far behind because he was quite far along as well, and I just mainly focused on skilling. I actually got 99 cooking on a single account because I wanted to be able to cook every type of fish that I acquire with 100% success rate and never burn anything. So I can do that on all the raw mantas, sea turtles, shark, and anglerfish that I've acquired through things like Temporos and just straight up fishing them with anglerfish. So I finally did that, and I got 99 cooking through Karambwan, and I have a ton of Karambwan to boot now too for Slayers. That's awesome. As well as now I can just cook all those things like the shark and the mantas. So I have a ton of like very high tier food. Those particular things heal 20, 21, 22 HP. So be great for things like God Wars and bosses where you want to get as many kills as you can in a trip. Being hardcore definitely helps to have higher healing food. So yeah, that's another goal that I've sort of achieved, and other than that, I'm just slapping out Slayer tasks because I need to work on maxing out all my combats. I want to have 99 defense, 99 strength, and as close to 99 attack before entering Bandos and Sammy. Those will be the two God Wars that I do first. Now, I did mention that I had a catastrophic computer problem. My PC corrupted my solid state drive, which was my main drive. and Windows completely sort of crapped out on me. It made it so I lost all my data and I had to figure out how to get a new PC. So I ended up getting a new build. I got it um, through a service. They helped me build the PC, and yeah, it works great. It's everything I needed, and it's everything I paid for. So uh, with that consistent PC and good capability, I should have no problem with like any crashes of sorts. But I'm definitely testing the water still. I just kind of got it and started using it a few days ago. So you never know. You could have some type of meltdown from it, just from something's not, some cable isn't seated properly, whatever the case, right? Computers can run into a ton of issues, especially one that was just built. You can't just say, "Oh, it's a new PC, it's going to work perfect." It's actually more likely to fall apart in the first few weeks because, if the part wasn't seated properly, if a cable wasn't connected securely, then that's when you would experience something happening quite soon. But after a couple weeks, I'd say you can be pretty sure that everything's fitted in properly and laying, seated properly to where, I won't expect any crash or sort to end up turning off my PC because obviously if I go into Bandos and my whole PC shuts off, then that's it. The hardcore series is over because pretty much the entire squad I have would have a chance to die, and most of the accounts would die to the boss. So, or even just the minions after, right? Um, I won't be able to use the teleport crystals. That it's the escape crystals where you can set a timer to where if you take damage after so much time of inactivity, so it kind of can detect a crash. I'm not going to be able to use that because I'm going to be on 4 accounts. Those things are going to be popping off like mad. There's no way I can maintain activity across 4 accounts that consistently for that long of time. That's just way too many, scenarios where like a teleport crystal is going to accidentally go off, and now all of a sudden I've lost 75k worth of a crystal, as well as one of my members of my group is now gone from the boss room at Bandos or whatever. So I don't want to leave the rest of the squad chilling there and lose 75k and lose the kill count that I had to get in there, and then have to make the trip back while the other accounts are still in there. That would just ruin the trip, and it's going to ruin the entire occasion. So I'm just going to have to risk it for the biscuit there and try to slap as many God Wars KCs I can without any type of disconnect. Obviously, I'll do that whenever it's a nice day out. There's no high winds, so that I don't have any, my power lines outside aren't shaking and blowing all around from the wind, which could knock my power out. There's a lot of factors that I'm considering here to try and kind of maintain this hardcore status. And I think God Wars is one of the most dangerous places. If I do decide to do like a raid, for example, like TOA or Chambers of Xeric, I can use those teleport crystals because I'm only going to be on 1 account anyway in those places. Or bossing like Muspa or Vorkath, I can do those with the teleport crystal because I'm only playing 1 account, so I would just focus on the 1 account and have the other 3 kind of like doing something very chill AFK, like something easy like a long Blood Velvet or Fire Giant task, or like fishing Karambwan or wood cutting or Motherlode Mine. I'll find something on the side to do, or even just log out for the raid because you know raids are only so long, and you need to have a high amount of focus, one, to stay alive, and two, to constantly be clicking and being active on your client so that the teleport crystal doesn't accidentally take you out of the raid, because you'll lose all your progress if that happens, as well as, again, 75k every time this mistake happens. I experienced this a couple times doing a Dagonoth task. I was like, oh, I'll take this to Dagonoth Kings, and ended up having a couple accidental crystals go off because if if you let the timer reach what you set it to be, I set it to like 20 seconds, and sometimes you're just ranging Dagonoth Prime with Prey Mage on, and there's no threat. So you kind of forget that you have this crystal set, and then all of a sudden the timer reaches 20 seconds, like I had set it, and then the next little Spinalyps or Dagonoth King attack that hits me procs then this crystal to automatically go off, and it's like, okay, now I'm in Lumbridge with, you know, lost 75k worth of a crystal, as well as I am in Lumbridge no longer at my Dagonoth King task. And that place is very, very hard to get to. It's a very long run, so there's so many reasons why the teleport crystals won't always work, especially with alting this many accounts. So yeah, that's sort of the thoughts on the state of the teleport crystals for my account specifically. And yeah, won't be using them for God Wars. Will be using them for raids or solo bosses. And just gonna have to play smart. Gonna have to plan out whenever I do these trips. I'm gonna be getting a greater demon task on 4 accounts, and then going in there with arc lights and max stats, and I'm gonna assassinate the Zammy boss when he spawns in about 2 seconds. So I think Zammy will be one of the safer ones. And Grardor, though, he will be a bit tankier, although I do have 3 Dragon Warhammers, so needless to say, the hammer specs will fly. I will be soaring in with 3 hammer specs roughly every single Bandos kill. So surely 1 or 2 of them will land, and then all the other accounts will start to shred. And I'm going to be using Thralls on at least 3 accounts. I'm thinking 1 account will be the dedicated lunar account to use pot share. So there's lunar spells like potion share, to where I can share super combat doses. And this spell actually consumes less doses than the players that receive them, which means I can all group up, stand in a small circle around each other on my 4 accounts when the boss is still respawning, and I can cast a lunar spell on my super combat, which shares the boost around to players near me, and it saves you a dose over time, so I can constantly be boosting and use less than just bringing super combats on each account and drinking them as needed. You can also do this on super restores in that room, which obviously prayer will be a massive issue, so being able to just share the supplies through 1 account and then drop all my other accounts' supplies over to the main that is using lunars. I think I'll just do that with the tank account, since the tank I will have my primary focus on my tank account, because every time it spawns, that tank needs to get aggro. If I let this thing run over to one of my alt accounts, or I'm not ready on the respawn, then Bandos is going to clobber him, and it will be an absolute crapshoot fest of just trying to figure out which account is being focused. Do I need to tele out? Oh my god, the struggle, the stress. I maybe will just record some Bandos footage without commentary. Maybe I'll talk between the kill, but like during the kill and prepping for it and all that, like I need to be dotting my I's, crossing my T's. I need to make sure that in that minute and 30-second window where the boss is respawning, or I think it's a minute and some change, I need to make sure that I am ready for the next respawn, because when he spawns, my tank needs to be close by. All 4 accounts need to have my quick praise set on, which will involve an overhead prayer and protect and piety. So those prayers are going to consume prayer very, very fast across the board, Every account needs to be healthy enough to survive mage minion hits, as well as the meleeer can chip them down. Can't forget about that. But with wearing, a Carol's top and a Barrow's tank legs, hopefully I can avoid a ton of that damage. And those accounts just stay healthy throughout the kill. We just don't know. We really won't know how it's gonna play out. Four accounts is a lot of DPS. 3 Dragon Warhammers is a lot of Dragon Warhammer specs. So just gonna have to hope for the best there. And again, I'll have to start with my tank, attack bandos, and then go to all the alts, click bandos, click bandos, click bandos across the other 3 clients. And then they're all going to be running in. They're all going to be praying range and piety, and my tank will be praying melee and piety. I will precast a thrall for the 3 DPS accounts that are on the side of the room. I will do that with about 10 seconds left to respawn because a thrall lasts 60 seconds, so that's plenty of time. I believe these kills should only last like 20 to 30 seconds, so you don't need the full thrall duration, so it'll be nice to precast them all from my spellbook before he even spawns, and then also when he gets closer to spawning, I need to get quick pray, quick pray, quick pray, quick pray. So I'll have to do that on all 4 accounts and just be fully ready for the respawn because, like I said, I don't know how this is going to go. Managing this many alts is going to be a massive challenge, and I'm excited to get into that. I'm excited to showcase some of what I'm capable of doing there. I do think I'll be able to just sort of farm it, like literally just assassinate, drop these bosses very quick with the amount of DPS I'll be bringing, having 99 attack, 99 strength, good gear like a tentacle whip, 3 Dragon Warhammers to spec it, and thralls. Thralls on 3 counts is going to cause a lot of little chip damage, like 1s and 2s and 3s to the boss, to where over 20 to 30 seconds I will probably do close to 10 or 15 damage per account. So that's like a whole 45 damage every single kill. Just, the boss only has 240 health, so if you reduce it to about 200 or less just from casting a thrall before he spawns, okay, well now you have a lot less to do, and a hammer spec could hit like a 65. That would be another third of his health. And then if any hammers hit, then his defense is massively lowered to where all the tentacle whips are going to be hitting 45s and whatnot. So yeah, we'll have to just see how it goes. I think it's going to be very farmable, and there's really no telling though how dangerous it's going to be being hardcore and having to control all 4 accounts myself. So yeah, that's gonna about wrap it for the video today. Just some insight into what the plans are into getting into God Wars, some updates on, where I'm at with the Slay grind. I did manage to get a massive stack of Wrath runes very quickly. Crafting the Wraths was fast, and I have what I wanted, which was enough Wrath runes to give and share across all 4 of my accounts. Only having Dragon Slayer 2 done on 1 account means that I have to craft the wraths on him, but then I can easily just share them through the group storage or trading or whatever. So every account now has access to Demonic and Sinister Offering, which are 2 spells on the Arceuus Spellbook, which allow you to convert things like Abyssal Ashes from Abyssal Demon tasks to massive prayer gains. So that's the plans. I will be slowly maxing my combats while doing this method to maximize prayer as well, and hopefully end up with close to 90 something prayer when I fully max attack, strength, and defense. And that's going to be massive because going into God Wars and being able to have a large prayer pool to work off of, knowing that I'm going to have to just be not paying as much attention to 3 of the accounts while 1's tanking. When 1 account is tanking, you have to constantly watch out for Bando's ranged attack, which will hit you up for up to 35, and as well as the minions hitting you for 15s and 20s through your prayer because you can only pray 1 style. So God Wars will definitely have its challenges, but that's going to be the end of this video. So thank you for sticking around. Make sure to subscribe, drop a comment below, and like if you thought the video was insightful. And yeah, I will catch everybody on the next video. Have a great one. Peace.